The suspended governor of Rivers State, Fubara, met Tinubu in London over the weekend. Immediately, Tinubu flew from Paris to London. Fubara flew over and met him. They had a meeting. It's obvious he came to beg him to leave the suspension so that he can get back to office. Of course, that should be on Tinubu's terms because he is now the new godfather. Holding meeting with Fubara without Wike means that he is directly in charge of politics in Rivers State. Wike has been left out in the cold, and it means that Fubara is moving from frying pan to fire. This is because Fubara might think that dealing with Wike is problematic. He wants to run away from that. He wants to be free. But he doesn't know that dealing with Tinubu will be his nightmare. When he's involved in something, he never lets go. He is there for retainership. He can ask Lagosians. Anyway, it's very clear the kind of power politics that is at play here, with the threats from the north that they will not vote for Tinubu in 2027. As recently as yesterday, the northern elders said that anyone who tries to rig elections in the north in 2027, whether the person is from the north or not, the person will go back to his home in a body bag. A lot of threats from the north, and with the coalition and all alliances coming through, it's very obvious they will not vote for him. So that's why he's focusing in the south, and it's working for him. The former governor of Delta State and the former vice presidential candidate of the PDP in the 2023 presidential election, Ifeanyi Okowa, he spoke to his supporters, telling them that they will make a move very soon. He spoke mostly in parables, but it's very clear he wants to decamp to APC. His is understandable because he's facing accusation of stealing or misappropriating billions of naira by the EFCC. So when he decamps to APC, obviously the EFCC will not go after him. But what about the governor of Delta State? There are rumors that he wants to decamp also with the entire cabinet, with the entire PDP structure in Delta State. Why does he need to decamp? He can choose to work for Tinubu in 2027 without decamping to APC. Maybe he's afraid of being rigged out in 2027 election. So if he's the candidate of the APC in 2027, no one will rig him out. Rather, he will be the one conducting the rigging. This might be the thinking of all the governors in the south currently planning to decamp to APC. They want to make sure that their re-election or reselection in 2027 will be guaranteed. Why this is very important is for people to understand the thinking of these governors, what is motivating them. It's not about supporting Tinubu because of what he's doing right, so that he can continue that in his second term. No, it's about protecting their personal interest. Theirs come first before national interest. They are only interested in being in office or serving 2 terms. They are not interested in development of this country. And one wonders why 2 years before an election, people are only talking about politics. They are not talking about developing this country. Everyone is fighting for his political survival. Yes, including Tinubu, who is using everything within his power, including abusing that power to make sure he forces governors or entices them to work for him in 2027. Nigerian politicians are very good at planning ahead once politics is involved. Once it's about rigging election, how to maneuver, how to outsmart opponents in an election, they are very good at that. But when it comes to economic planning or growing the economy or developing the country, you never see them. In a normal country, this is what should preoccupy everyone, not talking about an election that is still 2 years away. Look at this chart. You can see Nigeria's GDP in 2014. You can see the 2015 figure. Now, look at where Buhari left it. And in under 2 years, Tinubu practically halved Nigeria's GDP. This is a man that keeps telling Nigerians that he's working on a $1 trillion economy. How is Nigeria going to achieve a $1 trillion economy when the one he met, he has reduced it by nearly 50%? What about purchasing power? Also, look at our GDP per capita, something that used to be above $2,000. So this is what Nigerians should be preoccupied with. And let no one frighten you, let no one make you afraid of speaking your mind, of coming out on that day to vote. Yes, if you have this in mind, that this is how this administration has impoverished you, has reduced your purchasing power, has devalued that savings in your bank account, If you have all these in mind, you will vote right and protect that vote. It is because Nigerians do nothing. They don't react to in equal measure to what they do to Nigerians. This is why they continue pushing the limits. Yes, whenever they don't receive any pushback from Nigerians, it kind of motivates them to do more. They will keep pushing the limit till Nigerians say, no, we can no longer tolerate this one. Just like criminals, when they plan and attack people, attack a bank, or like the terrorists that keep killing people for no reason, it is because there is no pushback, there is no equal measure. If people stand their ground and fight, they will stop. That is how it works. So let no one fall for the narrative they are trying to create. They want to create that image in your mind that Tinubu is all too powerful. Some even compare him to a god, that he cannot be defeated in 2027. They tell you, someone that was outside power and he was able to maneuver and get to power, now that he's on the seat, you want to remove him? No, it's not possible. Some even go as far as telling you that the election has already been decided. No need coming out to vote. Listen, they are trying to discourage you from exercising your civic responsibility. Don't listen to them. This is about life and death. It is an existential crisis for many Nigerians, because imagine what they achieved under 2 years. That will tell you what they will do by 2027. Not to talk of when you give them the opportunity to gain power for another 4 years. That means Somalia will be better than Nigeria by 2031. And to all the people always shouting, divide this country to save lives, do this, do that, that nothing good will ever come out of Nigeria, irrespective of who is in charge, who is the president. No, you can never have a peaceful dissolution of Nigeria. You must understand it by now, unless you're ready to fight for it. But at a stage you will question yourself, is it worth it? If you cannot match their military power, no need going that path. No, it's a waste of time and unnecessary waste of human lives. It's better to stay in the country and fight. This kind of fight, you don't even need a weapon to do it. It's just to make sure you stand your ground. You need to put that effort, even if it takes 3 days, to go sleepless 3 days to make sure that your votes count. Yes. Even if it takes mobilizing yourselves in your community to make sure you become a vigilante, to stand guard on election day to make sure that no, everything you voted for must be counted. No one can rig your election. You will see Nigerians will stand together and defeat these criminals. Yes, Nigeria has been taken over by not just terrorists, but also criminal politicians. It's so heartbreaking that someone that reduced our purchasing power, reduced our GDP by nearly 50%, is busy maneuvering and politicking to retain power, not just this term, but another term till 2031, when they are supposed to be resigning en masse and tendering an apology to Nigerians because of what they have done to Nigerian economy. But no, they are busy telling us to our faces that we can't do anything about it, despite the fact that they are obviously very incompetent. But they are still telling us that we can't do anything about it, that we must live with their incompetence, that we can't change them. No, this is when Nigerians should say no, this is the limit, they can take it. They must now fight back and make sure they take their country back, because these people cannot have it both ways. They cannot continue retaining power and running down the country. No, they must do one. Either they run the country better like every other country, including our African neighbors, or they give way for others to do it. Yes, we are not lacking people who can lift the economy back to where it was in 2014, 2015. No, we have all the human resources and the natural resources, so we are not supposed to have anything to do with poverty in this world. So this is what many Nigerians should have in mind. Don't let anyone gaslight you or deceive you or spread narrative that you can't do anything, that you're powerless, that these people have all the powers, they can do what they want. No, it is not possible. Stand your ground and they will be defeated. Now, let's end with Professor Utomi's plan to mobilize more than 7 million Nigerians to amass in Abuja to demand good governance, to demand an end to state capture.
The Freedom Converge that we're planning to bring 7.2 million Nigerians into Abuja to occupy it until freedom goes back to the Nigerian people is motivated by a troubling, a deep crisis of elite. I mean, there are those who, I think, of it as a Tinubu problem, but it's much more than that, much worse. He may be a stimulant in some ways, but the crisis is deeper and much worse. And if we don't halt it, there will be no future, I can assure you. Now, Pastor Bakare, in enumerating some of the sources of that crisis as a Tinubu problem, has talked about state capture, which I've talked very often about. He talked about judicial capture, maybe not so much about judicial capture, but the completely useless 10th National Assembly that we have. And he has talked about a push for one-man rule, a domination of society by a strong man. Those are symptoms. There is such a much deeper crisis of elite. If we go back to the 1950s, when elite bargains necessitated a federal structure, you saw young people who were committed to long-term goals for their country work out an arrangement. That's why the federal structure remains the only way that makes sense in Nigeria, a true federal structure. Military rule would destroy that. But as you can see, the civilians have not done enough to reverse that, because they see that as an elite they can profit from it, from the rent that it gives them. The long-term good of the Nigerian people doesn't seem to quite strike them when they get this opportunity to take care of themselves. And this is really the Nigerian tragedy. And so part of what this whole movement is about, and this is why we don't just march into Abuja, it will take 1 or 2 weeks of educating people where they live about how a country can care for everybody, how a country can be led by the right kinds of people, not be a criminal enterprise, how a country can develop a strategy for national growth that will make us not just be like our peers, but surpass them. Our peers all left us behind. Because the story of Nigeria and Indonesia is a classic example. But almost all of our peers left us long ago, far behind, because of a crisis of elite. How do we correct this crisis of elite? That's why we're marching on Abuja. And it's going to be a huge march. I mean, let us just look at the troubles that face us regarding an ineffectual National Assembly. Mr. Bakare did a good job of dealing with that. Let us look at what judicial capture has done to us. Let us look at how a failing media, let's not pretend, Nigerian media has been a terrible failure. They make an effort, some of them, but they're captured easily. Poverty has reached everybody. So those who have the strings pay of journalists in our country can get the kind of robust discussion it got when we were in our teens and early 20s and functioned as reporters in that country. The real problem in Nigeria is that in the elite's struggle to get a piece of the action for their own survival, they forgot the people, the Nigerian people. People without whom justice, the only way they can deal with things is to turn to violence. And violence has made it very difficult to produce. And then worse still, the elite are so obsessed with their self-surviving that economic policy is all about stabilization, you know, and nothing about real growth. You don't grow an economy by the kinds of things we're doing. Those stabilize you, give impressions that things have turned around, but in the end, you're all dressed up with nowhere to go. So it's time to change all of this. Let's continue. We'll talk about this some more next week. And by December, as a country, we'll be ready for change, ready for a new kind of Nigeria. And I assure you, Nigeria will rise up again.